Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
If elected to the Senate, actually when? I was about to say, y'all slow. I will begin on day one fighting to lower costs, deliver on health care, make home ownership and entrepreneurship accessible to all, and hold Trump accountable.
In what has to be the worst-kept secret in town, Jasmine Crockett is finally announcing that she's running for higher office, in this case, the Senate. If you've been following my morning briefings, you already know that I've been saying in practically every video where I mention her name that all of her public stunts, like getting into spitball fights with the likes of Marjorie Greene and all the cussing and hooping and hollering, that was just Jasmine Crockett doing her clumsy attempt to try to raise her profile in the white media for the sake of raising her name recognition, and she hopes getting herself enough clout where she can mount some half-brain run for higher office. And now, predictably, here it is. And why is she running for the Senate in particular? Well, because the Republican-controlled legislature in Texas has gerrymandered the voting district maps for Congress, and her district has been affected, endangering her chances of winning re-election. And predictably, the Supreme Court has ruled that Texas map, although blatantly partisan, is legal. All this in the hopes that they can help the orange man hold on to Congress, especially the House of Representatives, so he can avoid being impeached again. Now, this begs the question of how the operatives for the Federalist Society, the right-leaning justices on the Supreme Court, will find a way to justify deeming California's own massively redrawn maps as being unconstitutional, because the entire point of the Federalist Society targeting the courts was to legislate from the bench and rubber stamp what the white right wants. So at least in the abstract, it'll be interesting to see how this Supreme Court justifies telling California that its own massively redrawn voter district maps are unconstitutional, while telling Texas that their massively redrawn voter district maps are not. Because one of the things that the Democrats in Congress should have been doing while they were busy kissing up to donors' rumps was making sure that they guarded their rear and stopped Mitch McConnell from front-loading the federal judiciary with all of these Federalist Society flunkies. But the Democrats weren't concerned about that. What they were really concerned about was making sure that the base, that is, black voters, stayed in line. That was their real goal, and this is the result. And exactly how much time and effort did Miss Sassy City Girl Congresswoman from Dallas even devote to that effort, to at least try to keep the federal courts from being completely overrun and infested with right-wing zealots? Not much, I'd imagine. She spends most of her time looking in the mirror at herself. That's one thing that she and Marjorie Greene have in common. Both of them have been making total fools of themselves to try to get as much attention as possible so they can use the white media attention as a springboard to higher office. But at least in the case of Marjorie Greene, she made sure to get herself some support from the base, especially those MAGA zealots, before she decided to go off the reservation. She didn't just leave first and think that she put something together afterwards. It just goes to show, though, that where the Democrats and Republicans are concerned, the similarities far outweigh any alleged differences. They both want the exact same things for the exact same reasons. And where Marjorie Greene and Jasmine Crockett are concerned, their goal is to avoid going back to the private sector full-time. Jasmine Crockett's first ad is already dropped, and instead of it mentioning anything relevant, about the economy or healthcare like her stump speeches said, instead, her first campaign ad is just 30 seconds about Jasmine Crockett's favorite subject, Jasmine Crockett.
How about this new one they have, their new star, Crockett? How about her?
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man.
She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Many people wonder why I jumped in this race so late, and I just want to be clear that this was never my intention. This was never about me.
Oh yeah, she's definitely not making this all about her, the same way she has with literally everything else. Well, nice to see that she's sticking to the issues that really matter, in this case positioning herself as a rival to Trump, even though she's not going to be able to run against this guy. Hell, even people in Texas in her district, they don't even know who the Senate candidate is for the Republicans that she's running against. So instead of her sticking to the subject and saying, here's why I'm better than John Cornyn, instead she's basically replaying Donald Trump's greatest hits. I guess in her mind, she's already laying the groundwork for some sort of national campaign. But the only place that she's a national candidate is in her own imagination. She could ask her Democratic colleagues in Congress about that one, because she hasn't endeared herself to the establishment there. Bernie Sanders was asked if he's going to endorse her, and this is what he said.
Jasmine Crockett, a congresswoman from Texas, says that she's going to be running for the Senate seat there. Do you plan to endorse her? Is that on the table for you?
I don't endorse anybody who hasn't asked me. There's another candidate out there running who's strong as well. So no, we will see what happens, but it's premature to be talking about any type of endorsement in Texas.
Okay, so it sounds like you might support another candidate in this race. I
didn't say that either. We will see what happens. I don't endorse anybody who doesn't ask for an endorsement. I've not been asked in Texas yet.
He doesn't endorse anyone unless they ask. That's almost certainly untrue, but it says a lot that this guy is sitting here, a sitting member of the U.S. Senate, and here you got one of the most high-profile mouthpieces for the Democrats in Congress who's trying to run for a Senate seat in Texas, and instead of him immediately saying anything will be better than John Cornyn, instead he says, well, you know what? I don't endorse anybody unless they ask. She's got to ask for my endorsement. Yeah, because he would much rather have John Cornyn in there, right? So the most self-promoting member of Congress wants to run, and the socialist from Vermont says she needs to ask for his endorsement. I guess the Jewish socialist from Vermont feels like he doesn't know Jasmine Crockett well enough yet. Apparently he needs to ask some questions and find out where she stands on the issues. I mean, he can't just give her an endorsement. She needs to prove to him that somehow she's going to be on the right side of the Democratic Party. Now, here's the part that I find to be really interesting. Today, Bernie Sanders is saying that I don't endorse anybody unless they ask me. Very interesting, because 3 years ago when she ran for Congress, Bernie Sanders endorsed her. So 3 years ago, he had no problem endorsing her when she was running for the House of Representatives. Now she's running for the Senate, and all of a sudden, I can't endorse her unless she asks for it. So why is it that Bernie Sanders thought that Jasmine Crockett was good enough to endorse for the House of Representatives, but all of a sudden doesn't feel that she's good enough to endorse for the Senate because he's already endorsed her before? Now all of a sudden there's a problem? He just can't tell anybody what that problem is, I suppose. But this is the problem with not having your support lined up in advance. Just because you think that somebody endorsed you 3 years ago, will they endorse you again? Well, it might depend. They might be wondering, what are you going to do for me? You haven't scratched my back in a while, so why should I scratch yours? But regardless, what it goes to show is all of these people are liars. All of these people are fork-tongued. All of these people have their own little agendas within agendas, none of which having anything to do with us. Thank God all these DNC shills and bootlicks, though, told us to back the Democrats, because clearly they're the only ones who are supporting black candidates, right? All of that vote blue no matter who stuff, you can see how Bernie Sanders is sticking to the party line. He's supporting whoever the Democratic candidate is sight unseen, right? He's not asking any questions. He's not withholding his support, right? So Jasmine Crockett's already stumbling out of the gate. You'd have thought that the most high-profile black woman in Congress would have at least bothered to have her political support lined up before she announced her candidacy. At least make sure the DNC leadership was behind her, some of them at least, particularly Hakeem Jeffries.
As Democrats look to retake the majority in both chambers, are you planning to make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race?
Well, I think I'm obviously focused on the House, not the Senate. And we're only 3 seats short of taking back the majority. And we are going to take the majority back. In terms of what's happening in Texas in the Senate race, before anyone gets to the general election, obviously there's going to be a competitive primary. And so we'll see what happens during the first Tuesday in March.
As the speaker for the minority, he has access to a lot of donor dollars, and that's important for a campaign. And there's at least one Democrat, by the way, who is also running a campaign for Cornyn's seat, too. See, when Kamala Harris ran for the Senate, her old boyfriend, Lowdown Willie Brown, put the word out to all the other contenders in the field, like Antonio Villaraigosa, don't crowd Kamala. Though Kamala Harris at least knew that she had to get her statewide support lined up before she ran for the Senate. Then again, in California, their Democratic Party is a well-oiled political machine, so her boyfriend was most likely the one who made sure that she understood the realities of how she really had to go about getting that Senate seat. There's an entire political machine in California that doesn't elect candidates so much as it selects them. Get the golden nod and they'll clear the field for you. But if you don't have that support already lined up, they'll have their white media buddies attacking you. Democratic mouthpieces and pundits will be constantly saying you need to drop out of the race, etc. So having a party support matters. And that's the kind of thing you want to know in advance, but it seems the city girl from Dallas is just winging it. And this is how the Democrats are moving into the midterms. Their entire party's political strategy is to just depend on Trump's incompetence to do all of their work for them. And Jasmine Crockett's entire political strategy is just show everybody that she's the loudest and brashest person in the room. Ideas? What's that? And that's the reason why she doesn't even have the support of her own party. I mean, who would have thought that trying to win the hood rat vote on TikTok wasn't the road to higher office after all? And if you want to know how sloppy a campaign she's running, just look at her slogan, Texas Tough. That sounds like a lazy advertising slogan for a pickup truck. And it also sounds exactly like one of Ted Cruz's campaign slogans too. So the self-serving narcissist who knows how to beat John Cornyn doesn't even know how to come up with an original or even merely different campaign slogan. Ordinarily, I would ask just who the hell Jasmine Crockett has managing her political campaign, but as we've already discussed in prior videos about her, more than likely she's the one doing all of this, which explains why it's going so poorly. Well, Jasmine doesn't have much time to get her act together. The election takes place in March, which will most likely go to a runoff in May, and there's already competitors from both parties looking to unseat Cornyn, so she's got her work cut out for her. As I've already said, even before the GOP redrew the congressional map in Texas, Crockett was already trying to position herself to run for something. I guess this was the best that she could do, because for the last few years she's been running the same playbook that Obama and Kamala Harris ran, get white media attention by getting into spitball fights with this or that Republican, but she's too intentionally ignorant to imitate Obama's faux elegant persona, and she's so obnoxious she can't even manage to be less unlikable than Kamala Harris. And somehow, when it comes to the issues, she manages to have even less to say than Kamala did. And there's no need to tell you about the fact that when it comes to the black grassroots, this woman is persona non grata. She spent all of her time just out there promoting herself, didn't have anything to say about black people's issues at all because she didn't care. Just like Karen Bass out there in California, as Jasmine Crockett sees it, the real goal is to escape the demands of the black vote, not to cater to it. She's already talking about her campaign is going to be multicultural and multiracial and all of these other empty word salad slogans. This is what it looks like when you have a candidate who, truth be told, really didn't get in there because she was a great mind, but she got in there because she got lucky, and now here she is hoping that lightning will strike twice. Well, it's going to take a lot more than some city girl sass and a couple of Kendrick Lamar's greatest hits to get her into the Senate. Though on a side note, I'd like to suggest a better slogan for her campaign, certainly one better than what she copied from Ted Cruz. My suggestion may not be the snappiest slogan in the world, but at least it would be honest. Vote for Jasmine. What a crock. And I support this message. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Carl Miller, Deborah Cooper, Saeed Muse, Melvina Miles, and Hassan Francis. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.